How to build a successful care home group in 2025. In this episode, I sat down for a care conversation with Gary Cottrell, the CFO of Ashberry Care Homes. Together, we dive into the key steps for launching a care home group in 2025, practical ways to ensuring quality care for residents, and proven strategies for scaling and growing your care home group. Ashberry Care Homes is on an ambitious mission to double in size in the next 2 years. Discover their game plan, the challenges they're tackling, and the lessons you can apply for your care home group. What is the biggest challenge facing the care industry in your mind?
The biggest challenge I would suggest is local authorities, their lack of funds to be able to give us the sort of fees that we require to run the service that we want to run. Them delaying bringing people in that need to come in, again, because of their lack of funds. So it's the availability of funds to local authorities, which I think is probably the biggest challenge. The demand for our services is there, but how it's funded is probably the biggest challenge. And it doesn't seem that any government has really got to grips with this. Everyone has promised that they're going to radically alter social care, but nobody has done that yet.
Is there any easy solution to it in your mind?
It needs to be properly funded. How that's funded is for the government to decide how that they want to. But previously, the Conservative government suggested that they were going to raise national insurance, and the money that came from that would be funding the social care, but that was reversed. So I don't know where they're going to get the money from, but they need the money because we all agree that there's a increasingly elderly population, and when they need residential care or nursing care, and they can't be looked after by anybody else, then they have to find that money somewhere.
Absolutely. And I think that leads on to a question that I've always had. What is the importance of privately funded kind of families coming into your care home?
I wish it wasn't so, but private funders do tend to pay more than local authority. And really, all that is that private funders are paying the true cost of the care, whereas local authority don't. And in fact, we have many local authority residents that we have to ask for the families to pay a top-up fee because the level of care that we want to provide comes at a cost. And unfortunately, because the local authority don't pay us enough, we then have to go to the families to ask for that top-up.
That's interesting because there's other pressures. I've spoken to other kind of care home owners. One of the challenges was around the minimum wage for staff. It's a good thing, but how has Ashberry kind of dealt with that change? Is it something that you've had to deal with?
We have always prided ourselves in the fact that we pay more than the national minimum wage. Yeah. But of course, when that goes up by 10%, then of course we've got to increase our by 10%. And it's not only the people on the national minimum wage, it also affects those above it, because we need to keep that differential between the lower paid workers and the more skilled workers. So there is that knock-on effect. And that cost obviously has to be passed on to our residents.
Yeah, absolutely. And in your position here at Ashberry as the CFO, how important is staff retention to the balance sheet?
Probably not so much to the balance sheet. It certainly affects us if we have to be an agency, and it certainly affects us if we have people that leave that have been with us for a period of time, because there is a cost of bringing someone in, because they have to be mentored for at least a couple of weeks to show how we work. So they don't become economic for a couple of weeks anyway. So there's a cost there to that. But we're lucky at Ashberry. We have fairly good retention of staff, and that's now paying off. We've got great incentives for our staff to cover shifts where people are on holiday or sick. So our agency usage, which is costly, not only in terms of finance, but in terms of the care that we want to deliver, we reduced the agency costs right down. Over the last 12 months, I'd say we've had a concerted effort to do that.
What is the true cost of care? You know, you've mentioned obviously private funders might pay a little bit extra, but what are they actually paying for?
Well, you can break down the cost of care quite easily. First of all, there's the accommodation cost. Some providers call that the hotel side of it, which is all of the meals, down to the tea and the coffee and the biscuits and everything that they get during the day, and obviously the accommodation of the room that they've been allocated. So that is what we would call the accommodation cost. Then there's the care cost. When I say a normal, I mean someone with a fairly low dependency would get an element of care, and we would then break that down into a cost that we can establish, and that's broken down by a proportion of the manager, a proportion of the carers, a proportion of nurses, if there's nurses, all of the various elements that deliver the care, will be the team leaders, etc., like that. Then when someone has a higher dependency, that means that they require more support to get dressed, to get bathed, to help with feeding. Then the care cost increases, and we have to cover that cost. So the accommodation is fairly static, whereas the care cost will increase over time with dependency, because when somebody comes in, they may be at one level, but during their stay with us, their dependency invariably increases. So we have to make sure that those costs are being covered.
If costs can go up, and I can understand why, like it's not a fixed cost to someone that's gone into a care home at one fee. If they need extra care, they would have to pay for it.
It's in the contract when people come in that they realise, and everyone does appreciate that, you're coming in at one level, but you can deteriorate quite quickly in some cases.
Yeah.
So, we would be wronging ourselves if we said, this is the cost of care when we do the assessment, and we're going to keep that cost the same for 12 months, because it will change.
Yeah.
And families realise that it's going to change, and they're quite happy to pay for the extra care, but only when it's needed.
On the flip side, then, what are the biggest opportunities for care homes?
I would say that the biggest opportunity is the fact that we are an ageing population, and therefore the demand for the services that we offer, which are predominantly dementia, the statistics are proving that that's almost going to double in the next 5 years. So if you can get dementia care right, there is a great opportunity there. But it has to be right. It's not just paying lip service to say that we're a dementia service. You actually have to deliver and take into account all of the things that a dementia sufferer needs. And dementia isn't a one-fits-all. You have various levels of dementia, and it's understanding that and having the training of our staff to cope and deal with that is vital.
So again, in your position, signing off spends and stuff, if there's the latest technology there to help kind of provide better dementia care, what's your kind of process for signing off spends like that?
it needs to be sustainable rather than just the latest fad in dementia care. There are lots of companies that come up with the latest idea, and is it sustainable? Does it really work? Those are sort of the first things that you look at. But where technology can be used, that will obviously save us money in the long run. So if there is a business case, I don't have a problem with signing off on technology.
Perfect. How important is marketing to business growth?
I have an advertising background, so you'd expect me to say very important, but I do genuinely believe that. I think unless people know what you're doing and how well you're doing it, how can they make an informed choice? There's no point in having a home and not letting everyone know that you're there and what a good service you're providing. So getting that message across is vital in the people's decision making. And how do people access information? I think we're all agreed that it's probably through the first thing that anyone looking for a care home will go onto the internet. It's the first thing they're going to do. They're not going to be persuaded by an advert in the local paper. That may reaffirm that they've heard about that home. But I think the first port of call is always going to be the internet.
And how has that changed over time?
I suppose as people get more and more comfortable with using the internet, of all ages, I mean, you've got to bear in mind that people probably now in their 60s are the people who are looking for their parents. So they've grown up with it, whereas before maybe people 20 years ago who were 60 were probably less used to using the internet. So it's, I suppose, a bit of a generational thing, but yeah, it's just generally accepted now that that's the first place you go. And you then want affirmation from other people, very much like a sort of a Trustpilot thing where you can see recommendations, those sort of testimonials, if you like, from other people really reaffirm your decision to go and see that care home. And so it's sort of word of mouth because you're seeing the testimonials, whereas I suppose years gone by was really reliant on literally somewhat word of mouth, someone telling somebody else.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very costly way of doing it. But yeah, hopefully if you can get your message across correctly and you've got the right testimonials and people can see that it's a people's business, it's not just a building, you get that warm feeling about the home, then and you can do that with clever marketing.
Again, coming back to you and your decision making and the tools at your disposal, how willing are you to spend in order to gain those inquiries that fills the beds in your homes?
There's obviously a finite amount of money that we have for any type of expenditure, but any company that doesn't advertise or doesn't believe in advertising is not going to be around for too long. So it's an investment that we need to make. We will continue to make even when the homes are full, because we're in a business where our residents do unfortunately pass on. So we're always having to replenish those residents. So therefore we always need to have a strong marketing presence.
Reporting must play a kind of crucial function for someone in your position. Like, what do you look for in reports that gives you the information so that you're able to sign off on those kind of decisions, be it marketing, be it kind of operations, staff, whatever it may be?
Well, if you look at marketing first, there's we're now getting better and better at analysing where our referrals are coming from, how many people go onto our website, how many people then actually do something about that, having gone onto the website. All that sort of information gives us comfort that what we're doing is correct. In terms of operational spend, again, if it makes our workforce more productive because they've got better tools to do their job, then again, that's really a no-brainer. We've spent an awful lot of money refurbishing our homes, and again, that's to give it not so much as a modern feel, but a very clean feel, so that when our residents are there, they feel they're in a warm, comfortable, friendly, but clean environment.
We've obviously been working with Ashberry Healthcare now for over a year on your website, your SEO. We've got a new website coming out, and I think a key that we're noticing across the care industry now is the importance of video, and the fact that there's a number of kind of video types that work really well. You've mentioned it already, like the testimonials, clients, resident testimonial videos are really important to get people in. But it's also the kind of the promo videos that you need from the care homes, and it's the kind of drone footage, flyovers of care homes, the facilities, and just getting the staff and the residents together and showing that care off really helps paint that picture. And like you said, it's creating that like amazing first impression for people. And I suppose the best first impression you can give is from the website. That is their first touch point, that is their first impression, and you move it forward with the video. I think, like you said as well, kind of times have changed from the newspaper adverts and from the the leaflet drops in the local areas and so on. How important would you say like the investment in marketing has been to helping support your growth journey?
I would say it's vital. I don't believe people spend time reading things anymore like they may have done. They expect it to be spoon-fed to them. So the best way of doing that is through a video. And when they see the manager talking and enthusing about their home, when they see pictures of the home, even down to the cooking being done, and so that they get a good feel about the environment, that they're not, less of a home, more of a sort of a country house hotel type feel. They'll feel more inclined that it's not. And we want to move away from the misconception of a care home. It's a home where care is delivered.
Looking, obviously, again, it's about investment into the business. What seals the deal when signing off on partnerships?
We all buy from people, so the partnerships that we have, it's very important that we get on with the people that we're going to be working with. We will also look at, again, I suppose, sort of testimonials from other people that work with that particular partner they want to partner with, to see what their experience is like, and see what results that they've got from that partner. So it's a mixture of due diligence and personal relationship.
Couple of questions on Ashberry Healthcare now. What makes Ashberry special?
The people. We're very fortunate in having some excellent managers. Excuse me. And that goes right down to the very, the person washing the pots and pans. If you've got a good manager that leads well, there's a good atmosphere in the home, and it's culpable. You can tell when you walk into a home, the effect that a good manager has. We've also got good people in the support team that support those managers and the rest of the staff. So, yeah, it's definitely the people that make the difference.
What's the vision for Ashberry Healthcare moving forward, say the next 5 years?
The next 5 years, we want to consolidate the number of homes that we have into probably double what we are now. we know what works, and we know if we can take on a home that isn't doing it well, we can turn that round. We would be very much driven by our own research into the area in terms of the demographics of not only the residents but the staff, so that we know that we can get the right staff. And yes, I suppose, the long-term vision is probably to have something like 20 homes, all at 95% occupancy or more, and all at good or better CQC rating.
In terms of that growth then, like, why acquisition of more locations? Because there's obviously a number of different ways you can do it. Other care home owners that we've spoken to almost want to build out their own homes that they've got already, make them bigger, or potentially even expand out into other service areas like home care. Why is it that you're looking to acquire homes?
Well, we've also got various homes that we can expand to add extra rooms on, and we will be doing that.
Okay.
But the acquisition of homes is a lot easier than taking on a new build with no residents or no staff. So if the people who are selling those homes are selling them for the right reasons, i.e. that they're retiring, which is a very good reason for us to go in and look at that home, because, for example, we're looking one at the moment, and the owner is knocking on 82 years of age.
Wow.
So obviously he doesn't want to carry on running the home much longer. He wants to have a bit of retirement. So that's a sort of ideal home for us. If, again, it's in the right location, it's got a good reputation, we believe we can improve it, and we believe we can increase the profitability of the home. There wouldn't be much point in us taking on the home and just running it as it is, because we wouldn't be adding any value. But where we think we can add value, those are sort of acquisitions we want to make.
And just out of interest, like, what is the process like buying a care home? I imagine, is it full of a lot of competition from other care home providers, or is it about chance, timing, location?
So probably a combination of all of those things, really. When we go into it, if someone tells us about a home, whether it's being advertised or before it comes onto the market even, we can tell if it's going to fit just by doing a desktop analysis before we even go and see it. And when we go and see it, you can really tell just by walking through the door. There's how you're welcomed. There's a completely different feeling from walking into a well-run home as there is to a badly run home.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's the same sort of decision that hits the families of residents when they go into a home. It's an immediate feeling that you get. They say that you make a decision about someone you meet within the first 5 seconds. It's very similar to that in walking through the door of a care home.
Absolutely. I think that leads nicely onto that kind of the start of a care journey with families. They're looking at all sorts of different care options for their loved ones. Could be a bit of home support, could be care homes. Firstly, why should families choose care homes for the care journey? Obviously, if it's right for the person in need. And secondly, how can Ashberry Healthcare make sure that they offer that great customer experience when someone walks through the door of one of your care homes?
Yeah, I think first impressions, you only get one chance at a first impression. And I think that is very important, because if you walk through the door and you see activities going on, you see that the residents are not only happy, but a well-groomed. The lady's hair looks like it's recently washed. Those, to me, are the instant telltale signs, and I'm sure that families walking through can feel that once they've met the manager, who they will instantly like because we've got great managers, we'll also pick up on the feel of the home by seeing how the residents are being looked after, how they're being engaged in various activities, even going through to the dining room and seeing the quality of food that we provide. And we're very proud of our kitchens. We recently installed different ways of cooking, very much with dementia in mind. So to show families this is, to that level, how we really take into account the care that we want to provide the loved one who has on the road of dementia.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've been working in obviously with care homes now for a number of years, and the perceptions of oh yeah, I used to be hook, line and sinker, like, oh, I'll never send my mum to a care home, but since being in it, and it was the Engelberg visit, like, it was amazing. It really changed the perceptions. Like, once you meet the staff and actually have a conversation with them, understand why they work in care, changes the perceptions completely. And I think that's what we need to continuously do for you at Ashberry and other care homes. Getting their staff out and painting those stories that will just change perceptions. So
yeah. In many ways, I wish there was something else that we could call ourselves other than care homes, because it's the conversations that I've had with various people, including my own parents. I don't want to go into a care home because their perception is that they're just going to be stuck next to a wall, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
And that's no longer the case. So it's very important that we get that message out there.